Okay? So now we've gotten to the point that we know what we do, we know who we do it for, because whatever we do best, who we do it for is the people that want what we do best. Now we're going to look at competitors. Okay? Everybody has competitors. And your job at this point is to figure out your top 3 competitors. Who are the top 3 competitors you have? And I want you to look back at the statement that you produced and say, if a customer wanted what I do, who else might be the person they would go to in my industry or in my local area? Figure out those people, and then once you have that, we do a, what do they do better than I do? What do I do better than they do? Okay? And I'm going to give you, go ahead.
Could this be a specific company?
Absolutely. It should be as specific as you possibly can make it. Right? And some of you will have more difficulty with that than others of you. Because some of you will have narrow niched this thing down enough that it's hard to do. I'll take the example of Starbucks that we just talked about. Now, in terms of the corner Starbucks, you've got a Tully's Coffee, you've got a Seattle's Best. So those are pretty easy competitors, and we can look at those and we can do some comparisons back and forth. But for the roastery, who is their competitor? If I'm looking for entertainment, which is what the roastery is producing for me, who's my competitor? My competitor is the EMP. Right? Has nothing to do with coffee. Has nothing to do with Willy Wonka. It has to do with, I'm looking for entertainment at that point. And so if the roastery is really the business I'm talking about, and I may be talking about roastery to people that don't know that much about what the roastery is, but if it's an entertainment kind of thing, then it's an entertainment kind of thing that could be my competitor. Anybody that wants to talk about competitors and what they figured out for themselves and how this is working?
I just don't. Yeah. So here's what I.
Okay, so let's take somebody. Go ahead. So first of all, tell us again what your business is. Who are you specifically?
Performer, singer.
I'm a singer, but I want to go back to that definition. What kind of a singer are you?
Jazz blues.
Jazz blues.
That's right.
Keep going. What makes you different than everybody else?
I'm reliable.
Reliable.
And you gotta hear her sing, man. She's got a voice like none other.
No, but these are the things that make a difference to your customer, right? We're looking for differences between you and the competitors. That's the key question.
Right.
Okay? And maybe reliability is one of those things. Maybe it's the particular kind of blues that you specialize in. Okay? Maybe that's a difference. Maybe she does more in the large audience, you do more in the small audience. Maybe she does more just stand up and sing and you have more activity and performance to you. I mean, these are things, go watch your competitors and say, what do they do differently than I do?
You know what would be better for her and me, and be more honest, is that I write more of my material. She performs more.
So the idea is this.
Yeah.
She is more covers.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
And you're more original.
Right. There you go.
Great. That's the difference, okay? And so what are you going to do when you get to a customer and you know she's a potential competitor? You're going to ask a question. Do you want some original stuff? Or do you want to hear the same thing you heard on the radio 37 years ago? At that point, you need to make a decision. If they say, I want the covers, do I want this job bad enough to really work on that? Or do I move on to the next person and see if I can't find somebody that's really interested in original material?
Right.
Okay? And if you do original, maybe one of the things that you could do, and I'm guessing here because I'm not a writer, you might be able to change some of the lyrics in some of your songs that are specific to the venue or specific to the audience you're going to perform for.
Right.
And that might be really fun for your customer. Your customer might get really excited about that because you do have the ability to do original stuff.
Right.
You do have the ability, you have this extra capability. So there's your first competitor. Do that with 3 people. Pick 3 people and say, if I was to go to this concert or that concert, what would I see here that I wouldn't see there? What would I see there that I wouldn't see here? Make sense?
Yes.
Can I ask one?
Yeah.
So for her, as she's thinking about competitors, it may not be another jazz singer, it could be another band.
It could, very easily could.
And then differentiate, well, I do jazz and you do, funky butt music or whatever.
That's right. That's right. And I don't know enough about the competitive nature and the kinds of gigs that are available and what you would want to try to do versus what other bands that are very different genres might try doing the same thing. Meaning, I the last couple of times I've seen live music, they've been at weddings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a given wedding might have the ability to do 2 or 3 different kinds of styles here, and now you've got to decide, how do I sell jazz and blues over the pop rock stuff? Can I if weddings is a big kind of a market for me, can I convince people that original jazz and blues for your wedding is going to have more meaning than this, candy like pop rock stuff? What do you want to have? What kind of an atmosphere? What kind of a tone do you want to set?
No, just in the
Sure.
context of this case, so the differentiator could be style,
Yep.
jazz, but could it also be she performs solo or she only performs with a band?
Sure.
So if someone wants to hire you, I sing to a track, here's my track, or you want to hire me, you got to bring the whole band in, which
Yeah.
could be a differentiator in terms of the cost. So
Right, that's
that could be another way how you position yourself.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, that's a way to position. Another way to position is size of a venue. Maybe you're more comfortable in a smaller venue. Other people will not do small venues.
Mm-hmm.
That's a possibility. There's a lot of different things there.
Right, I see.
Other questions on that? Okay. So at this point, we've talked all about us, right? We've talked about what we do. We've got a definition of what we are. I want to talk about the idea of industry and trends. One of the things that's important as you do a planning document like this is to define what the trends in your industry are. What is happening in the industry as a whole that it could affect who you are and what you're doing. Now, if I look at it, one of the trends that's been happening in the entertainment business in general, both video and audio, is personalization. There are more and more venues to get to published creative material than there have ever been in the past, especially video. Okay? When I was growing up, there were no personal computers. Therefore, there were no cell phones. Therefore, there were no podcasts. And we're on that trend such that the phones are getting more and more capable. The search is getting better and better. The ability to understand what's available is more and more. And how is that going to affect your industry and your trajectory? Can you tap into that? People have other ideas of trends that are happening. Yes?
Virtual reality, augmented reality.
Sure. Virtual reality is going to happen at some point in time.
Yes, here. Sure.
And how is that going to affect the creative marketplace then? How will your business be impacted positively by virtual reality or potentially impacted negatively by virtual reality? Are people going to want to do as much live entertainment because they can almost see it live in a virtual sense? Or is there, because virtual reality is one of those things, is the fact that having a background that's created by creative people can give that much more marketplace to the content that's necessary to drive the virtual reality machines? Well, if you decide one way or the other on that question, that should affect where you think you want your business to be in 10 years. Not that you have to do anything right now, but put it in your business plan. Put it in your plan that this is something that's going to be an industry trend. This is how I want it to affect my business. This is a planning process. This is the thing that says, this is what I want. This is what I want my business to be and do. And therefore, it's important that I understand where that is, and I have to keep abreast of what's going on. I have to keep abreast of how content is being used, how it's being created, who's doing it. Another thing that's happening, I think, as a trend, sort of generally, is people are getting more and more mobile. People aren't staying around home near as much as they used to. As they get more and more mobile, they will want to take what they know and what they love with them. How will that affect your businesses? Will that affect your businesses? Yes?
People's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter.
Absolutely. Another one. Things are going so much more rapidly. And that may mean that we have to be more focused in our message. So the idea of shrinking our messages. But it may also be that we have that much more opportunity, because if I'm looking at 14 messages a minute rather than 2 messages a minute, that's 7 times as many messages that can be out there. If I'm in that marketplace early enough to be known as the person that can provide that 2-second message that's really effective. Okay? So look at trends, look at where they're going, look at what we're doing, look at how we're trying to get there. Okay?